It's 6:30 p.m. Call to order the July 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. All permanent members are present. Because since we have people here tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and move up the SCLAR updates item. It should have been in new business anyways, so I'm just going to go ahead and bump that up to first, so we can start with that, just so you guys can you don't have to stick around for 3 or 4 hours, however long this meeting is going to take. So Tom, go ahead.
Okay. I have 3 people from the SCLAR subcommittee here. Katie Little is going to be the spokesperson. I have Allison Mitchell and Corinne Dunn. I'm sorry, Corinne Dunn. And I'm going to sit with Katie at the microphone.
And when you speak, could you be sure to give your address so we can have that for the minutes? Thanks.
I asked Katie to come, and I invited all the others as well, to come. I've spent a lot of time talking to you about things that are going on at SCLAR, but Katie has a lot more to offer, I think, than I have. So I asked her to come to talk about some of the things that we're dealing with, some of the things that we're trying to get done, and some of the things that are very difficult for us to get done for numerous reasons, and I'm not blaming anybody for that. I'm just saying that there are things that we're trying to get done that just can't seem to get done. So I don't know if you need any more than that, Katie, or?
No, I think that's a good introduction. How is this good?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Address.
My name is Katie Little, and I am the current interim subcommittee chair. My address is 73 Pondview Drive in Merrimack. And I'm here tonight just to, open the lines of communication and bring some things to your attention that we are noticing at the park. We had a work day yesterday, and I think there were 4 of us? There were 5 of us in attendance. And one of the things that we noticed yesterday were there were things that needed to get done. So there were a couple of trails that were blocked off from fallen trees. And there were also a couple of trails that had been blocked off by rocks that had been intentionally put in front of the trailhead. So even as volunteers of the subcommittee, knowing where the trailheads are, we were even unable to access those areas of the park. So I'm not sure why the rocks were moved to those particular locations. We would like to understand if there was a reason why they were moved to those locations so we can address that and address any concerns. But I don't know if you guys have access to a map, but
Katie, just real quick. Are you under the impression that we've had them moved? Or?
No.
Okay, so
No.
It's more like a vandalism issue that someone's pushing
Well,
them?
I don't know. So SCLAR is obviously out of public sight, so a lot of stuff goes on down there.
Yeah, we know.
And it seems like they were intentionally moved, but we don't know if it was the town or if it was a member of the community. It's hard for us to know how to address that issue. So, if it was the town, it would be nice to know. If it wasn't, then, we obviously have those challenges to deal with, people moving things around. And obviously, as volunteers, we can't move boulders, we can't cut down trees. So those are just basic things. We were sort of blocked off from a large portion of the trails at the park yesterday. So we were unable to maintain them. So that is a maintenance issue. And it's also not very apparent for somebody who doesn't know where the trailhead is if they're blocked by trees and boulders. some people would be willing to, climb around them, but if you don't know they're there and they're not well marked with signage, that is one of the things we are trying to develop, are signs for all the trailheads so the public, members of the public know where to go and can enjoy the park. One of the other issues that we noticed was, in addition to the trailhead access, was that we need to, I think Sklar is unique in a sense that it has a lot of vehicular circulation. The road is very poor, in very poor condition right now. And that is also an access issue for volunteers and for members of the public. My car almost got stuck yesterday volunteering in the deep ruts that are on the road. So just being able to drive your car to the park is an issue.
Are you focusing on the road past the bridge, on the Scalar side of the bridge? Once
Yes.
you go under it, not the paved part coming down that hill, which is also
No.
not great, but
No, the dirt
the
road.
dirt road. Okay.
Yeah, that goes to the boat ramp. So we have a lot of vehicular circulation on the site, which is difficult to manage because there are some areas where we want to restrict vehicular access and some areas where we want to encourage it. But, it's just like the prior use of the site, people used to just use it as a mudding site for their trucks and ATVs. So people tend to make their own pathways where they see fit. So strategies for restricting access and also gaining access to the areas where we want people to go, I think is going to be an ongoing, an ongoing challenge and something that the subcommittee thinks needs to be addressed. I think those were like the primary issues because we noticed that there's little we can do with the heavy things. And until we can access the trails to do some of the lighter work, until the road is fixed, we can't promote work days on social media to have more people come and help us because I have been afraid to, I started a walking group, but I've been afraid to invite people to the site because of the vehicular access issues. So I think addressing the road is important so that we can get more volunteers to help us improve the park. And, there's also a couple of trails that we can't mow right now because the rocks have been moved. We can't get a mower into those areas. So Sklar is also unique in a sense that it's in a floodplain and the water comes in, it washes away all of the leaf debris, and then it's just green vegetation in the summer. So we need to be able to mow certain areas, and we currently have a volunteer who's doing so, but whenever there's trees and rocks in the way, it makes that challenging. So it almost like makes the site unusable certain times of the year. So that's something that we noticed yesterday. It's sort of unusable right now, just because of the time of year, the lack of maintenance for the roads, and also the challenges of the large objects getting moved around.
So in reference to both the road surface and the trees that are down, DPW can handle both of those. If you report the location of the trees and send it to our contact at DPW, they're usually very good about coming out within a few days to a
Well,
week or so.
that should really come back through us, so there's only one
Okay.
person going.
Okay.
We're trying not to have the highway department getting bombarded by 15 different people.
Fair
Is-
enough.
Steve, are you still that person?
I'm happy to be. I thought you had taken that torch, but
Oh, you did?
but I'm happy to be.
I thought
Yeah.
Eric said he could do it.
Yeah, when there was a tree down at Horse Hill, I emailed Highways. So, so for the trees, if you can get approximate locations of the trees that are down, and you can email them to me, whether circle them on a map or something like that, and
Okay.
I can then send that to Lori at Highways.
Okay.
And
And-
I'm a little concerned about saying they can just fix the road, because that road, as you'll notice, it's,
Yes.
like you said, it's floodplain. That's just silt.
So the entire road, maybe not, but DPW in the past, for some of the other properties, has used, I don't know what it is, it's a crushed, recycled
Yeah.
asphalt or something.
Reground.
And it improves the
And
situation.
it's a commodity, and we don't have any.
Yes,
And we
this
did-
year, this
I
year,
remember
we're
that-
short.
Yeah,
that
it's,
we
it's a
were-
huge, so I'm not saying, obviously, we gotta look into this, but I don't think we're just gonna be able to ask them to go down and fix it, because that's gonna be a lot of work.
And the piece of equipment you'd like to use to do that would be a grader, which
Yeah,
you
and-
can't get under that road.
I was just thinking that as you
Yeah.
were saying that,
Yeah,
yes.
that's gonna be done with a
We could
dozer.
float it down the river on a barge.
At the last meeting, I believe we discussed some of these things and discussed that they could, I think someone had contacted them and put Sklar on the schedule to have it graded.
So about a few weeks ago, I did contact the town about grading the road. It was not, I was not given a specific date on what day it could be. I can send a check-in email to see if I can get an exact date. Not sure when it is on the schedule at the moment. So that's the best answer I can give you for that on the road grading.
Are
I
you
will-
sending, don't lose your train of thought, are you sending that just to Lori,
The road grading, no, it was to,
Don?
yeah, it was it to Don?
Don Toowoomba?
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, as I say, 'cause
Actually, I have my email right
I
here, I
think,
can check it
I
right
think
now.
we're gonna need more professional opinion on what to do with that road to get it fixed. Because grading it, again, it's just gonna, you're just gonna push sand into the low spots, it's gonna be great for, till the next rainstorm, or the next flood.
And Katie mentioned it. It's good when it is good. Then we get into wet weather.
Yeah.
It gets bad very quickly, because during those, there's, a couple months of the year where you really shouldn't go past the Flying Eagles
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
But people do it, and I think we've talked internally about, posting that road for those periods just to keep people from damaging it. But I think we have an obligation to the
Yeah.
state to maintain access to that boat ramp year-round.
Yeah.
Katie, was there evidence of ATV use before or
We-
after the rocks? Because I'm wondering if perhaps unauthorized ATV use may be related to the rocks getting moved.
We were not even able to access a lot of the trails because of the overgrowth, so it was very difficult to tell if any of the trails had been used. You could tell some of the trails had been walked on. There was maybe a 12-inch wide path through the vegetation, where people had blazed their own trail, but,
And moving some of those rocks, I suspect it was not one person.
yeah, I don't know how it's happening, but currently all of, Riverview is blocked off from the boat ramp on one side by a tree
Yeah.
and then by rocks on the other, so that entire trail, Sklar is pretty overgrown, so unless you can access the trailhead, there's not a lot of ways to get to the trail unless the trail access is clear.
And it wouldn't have, Jim, it would not have been not just one person, but there would have to been some serious equipment to move them with as well.
I don't know if, when we first purchased that parcel, we installed a bunch of posts, no trespassing past this point. I mean, 3-4 weeks, half of them were knocked over,
Yeah.
broken. I mean, it's been problematic. So we were calling the state Fish and Game, and we had some good luck with Chefchak, but he unfortunately retired, so that might be the place to start again, is to get Fish and Game back down there.
I believe McFadden is on.
McFadden, yeah.
But yeah, so a month ago, I did, I emailed Paul McCauley.
Yeah.
That was the night, actually, Tom and Steve and we had our interviews with Nancy. So should I have emailed someone else? Or was Paul the right person to go to?
No, but I mean, we are the ones, all of us are the ones responsible for maintaining that parcel. So if we want to call Fish and Game, we can do that ourselves.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the road grading. Sorry, I was.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Paul I would start with Dawn Toowoomba. She's the town engineer. So, and she's also a former road agent, so she knows roads well.
Another thought that I had related to the vehicular access was if we want to restrict certain areas, like there's that turnaround, I think, not, before you make a right to go to the boat ramp, there's a large turnaround area that had previously been, I think, construction debris, and maybe it was like a giant hole and it was sort of leveled. So volunteers have since made that like a level, usable surface. There is still some construction debris in the ground there, but if we don't want people, there's no use for the space. If we don't want people driving their cars around there and creating more of a maintenance issue, you know, maybe we could revegetate it so that people don't drive their cars in the spaces we don't want them to.
Is that maybe a turnaround space for cars with trailers using the boat ramp?
I asked that at the workday, and someone said that it wasn't a turnaround, but I don't think it's defined yet. We don't have a turnaround for the boat ramp.
We were asked to keep that clear for that reason.
Yeah, it's fairly typical to have a turnaround right next to a boat ramp.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty far, and it's actually kind of far away from the boat ramp now, though. It's way, you know, it's
Well,
a pretty good distance.
Yeah, I think people have started making their own turnaround closer to the boat ramp,
Yeah.
which is why we're just, like, we're adding more and more space. The longer we delay restricting access to certain parts of the site, like, we're just creating more maintenance issues because people are just driving wherever they want, since we're not identifying where they should go.
Did we ever have, didn't Kyle Fox have a new location for a boat ramp? Wasn't there one further down by Bud?
There's Greeley Park in Nashville where Fish and Game put in a nice boat ramp.
I recall Kyle Fox mentioning that there was an area towards the brewery, but it had not been.
Right, but that's why
set
they
aside.
didn't want to fix the boat ramp that's
They
there
wanted
now.
to
They wanted to
invest
move
in
it so we could close that one down.
Yeah.
But
You know, closing it down would have its own problems. It sounds like there are some users of the park who have done things a certain way, and they want to keep on doing things a certain way and take their vehicles where they want. And over time, I've been here for 3 years, and this has come up again and again.
Mhm.
How can we get the access going the way that keeps the trails open, doesn't trash the parking lot, and how can we get vehicles in there to fix it? But I recall the rocks were linked to some people who had brought vehicles on the property and used the vehicles to move them, basically creating or keeping open the trails. And I don't know that we had a coping mechanism that worked. Does anyone recall differently? Because without monitoring it, there wasn't much we could do.
Right, so I don't know if there's like a more fixed solution that people wouldn't be able to move, like something with footings that they would have to like pull out of the ground. That might, the rocks just keep getting moved. I haven't been a member of the subcommittee for very long, but that does seem to be an ongoing issue, as they just keep getting moved to different locations, and it's hard for us to stay on top of it.
It seems
Because-
that could be considered vandalism and be reported to the police. Because they said, whoever communicated with the police, they, correct me if I'm wrong, they said that as long as they know where the vandalism is happening, they're happy to put in cameras.
Yeah,
Someone mentioned that.
can't remember the exact email correspondence we had, but, yeah, so I did have a conversation with the chief of police, a few weeks ago, mostly about Sklar. The basic message, and I did forward this to the subcommittee, through Tom, and Karis, I think, too. Basically that, they don't actually get that many calls regarding Sklar in the past year or so. I think the number, I don't wanna misquote him, but I think the number was 2 calls from Sklar, something like that, last year. And he said, like, you know, even if you don't like catch the vandalism in the act, still call the police and report it, make a record of it. Maybe it won't maybe you won't see immediate action done. I mean, you won't see like, you know, people brought to justice or not, but it makes a record of things, and the police are more than happy to, you know, it is their job. I mean, I always feel like I'm bothering police if I would call them something, but, you know, it is like, they are happy to go down to Sklar make a report and check things out. And yes, it would be considered vandalism because those are purposely placed there by the town. And I did talk to Paul as well regarding the rocks being moved. And when we were talking to Nancy on June 26th, we thought it would be best to place the rocks back when Sklar was less busy, just because we were worried that, like, you know, a DPW guy's there just trying to move rocks and maybe he's being bothered by people. We thought it'd be better if it was less crowded. We could still go with that strategy, but at the same time, if the rocks are now being placed in places where they are blocking paths, I mean, I think the minimum we could do is at least, if not move the rocks back to the original place, at least move them out of the path. That's what I'm
A
thinking.
possible out-of-box solution, you said the rocks are placed there for a reason, I don't know what that is. Could we just remove the rocks? Large rocks actually have value in landscaping around here.
We asked for those to be put down there so we could block places that we knew trucks were going.
Ah,
Well, we have other areas of the site that should be blocked off with rocks, like the beach, where
Yep.
people drive their cars right up to the river. That should probably be blocked off from the boat ramp so that there's a barrier, and there's no rocks there right
It
now.
was at one time.
Yeah, so they just
Okay.
move around.
I was gonna say, one of the original members of the SCLAR subcommittee, I can't remember, Dave something, he actually had, like a ton, wrong word, he had a lot of huge rocks taken off his property and put there specifically for the block. So we're not trying to get rid of rocks, we're just trying to get them there so we can put them where they're supposed to go and
Fair
keep them
enough.
there.
that was probably Dave Trippett.
No.
No.
It was
No.
a generous
Dave.
developer in town that
Wait, do you remember?
not only donated them, he delivered them. The town helped too, I think
Yeah.
Okay.
Public Works helped also.
The town has,
Oh, Dave DuPont.
I don't remember.
Do you have any notes on?
The town has offered in the past to, if we have rocks at a location, they'll pick them up and they'll deliver them down.
Okay.
As long as it's something like a 10-wheeler that they can get under the bridge. So they've made that in the past, whether they're gonna do it again. But if we have, you know, we've talked about it here, if you have somewhere that you see development going in, the large rocks, well, you'd let us know, we can probably get them moved to Scalar.
Does DPW move the rocks as well?
They did initially.
Okay.
They helped us locate them down there.
Yeah, we also have a bench that's like 300 pounds that's floated maybe like 200 yards downstream and landed somewhere in the park, not anywhere that someone could sit on it. So we might need help moving that. So those are our heavy lifting challenges right now.
So the bench was moved?
By the flood, yeah.
Oh, so you weren't getting it really floated, a 300-pound bench really got pushed that, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How was the trash? Was it that bad, or any trash is bad, obviously?
The areas that we cleaned up were mainly the accessible parts, which was the road. There was quite a bit at the turnaround, the boat ramp turnaround area. Lots of fireworks and, you know, people park down there and just throw their trash on the ground. So that's a popular spot, just because it's sort of,
Yeah, we could make a formal request to community development to increase patrols down there, just for that purpose. I mean, we should be reporting this up to community development anyways, because they track the complaints in town for our good places to live. Is all tracked through community development, so.
I think-
Tires weren't a problem?
Tires?
Yeah.
No, we didn't see any tires, but like I said, we weren't able to access the, there is some construction debris at the turnaround. Someone dumped fluorine down there. And at the entrance to the park, right off of the public road next to the pump house, I know they've been doing construction over there. There's still a lot of construction debris over there. I'm not sure if they're planning on cleaning it up, but.
So right now, you've got 2 trails blocked by trees. And you've got other trails blocked by rocks that weren't put there.
Correct.
So whoever contacts DPW, I guess, mention both those things. If, would taking care of those at least let you get in for maintenance?
Yes, we need to mow the grass to get it down to a reasonable level that people can walk on the trails again.
And probably there ought to be communication so that as soon as the rocks are moved, the subcommittee knows about it, because who knows how long before the rocks will get moved again?
And communication to
Yeah.
subcommittee and
Yeah.
to the police. So if you can mark all that on a map, like what,
Mhm.
where's what and what you know, again, like you said, the rocks, whether we can move them to the right location, but we at least move them out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can send the GPS coordinates to Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to get a sign that says, please don't move the rocks?
No.
I'll just
The
encourage
people
you.
who read it aren't the
Yeah,
ones who
they're
need
just,
to.
those are the people who are gonna knock it down anyway, so.
Well, ultimately, I think like parking signs will be helpful in the long run. Like, this is where you should park, this is where you shouldn't park. There's nothing like that down there right now. Not that people are going to listen, but
Well,
eventually,
building patterns of access is not a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But I understand that there's difficulty when things are blocked.
mhm.
And without some signage, the police can't really enforce anything. So if you put up a no parking sign, it's a valid town authorized no parking sign, they can have enforcement abilities on it, so. All right,
Well, thank you very much, all three of you.
Did you want me to give them an update? on-
The subcommittee has also been doing some things about setting priorities, when things should get done, what order they should get done in community outreach and stuff like that. And I was gonna ask Katie if she could just kind of update you on that as well.
Yeah, just some of the other things we've been working on behind the scenes at our meetings. We've been familiarizing ourselves with the rules, the rules of the subcommittee and the Conservation Commission, because we're all relatively new to this. So just making sure we're operating in a way that's representing the town. We've been working on creating standards for work days, trail standards. So how wide do we want them to be? What do we want them to look like? How do we restrict access in certain areas by creating physical barriers, those types of things. And we've been talking about standards for recruiting and how we want to manage social media. So just setting basically operating standards so that all the subcommittee members are on the same page, and everybody, if somebody leaves, someone else can pick up where we left off pretty easily. So just trying to document things and get it on paper, and creating standards for like field reports if we go, like a trail report, if we go out to the trail. I don't know if that exists yet for the other parks, but,
Usually we hear about things when something goes wrong.
yeah. So like, I'm writing down GPS coordinates for locations of problem areas that need to be addressed. Like, that's helpful now that we have sort of a map, but the map is also very tiny. So how do you communicate something that's very small on such a large area plan?
Well, if the coordinates are there, I think,
Yeah.
I'll be able to, pass that along to, DPW or ComDev or depending on that. But as long
Yeah.
as the coordinates are there at the size of the map, I can edit the map myself and just, make it more accurate.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, just trying to establish like how we communicate those things to the Conservation Commission so that there's a process and it'll become more efficient long-term.
So one thing you should look at, the BMPs, the best management practices, the state lists the best management for trail maintenance and trail design.
Okay,
And that's, might save you some of the legwork on how, trying to standardize things. You could just kind of point to BMPs and say, this is, we're gonna do it this way, which is typically what we do with the rest of the properties.
okay.
Is this from Bureau of Trails?
Yes, Land Management Bureau of Trails.
Just one more question about cutting the grass on the trail so they're more accessible. Is that DPW I should contact about that?
We've always done that in the past.
Okay. And, Are the-
I don't know what, we don't always, it's not always, they're not always available to do it, but that's.
One of the
we'll do it.
problems with that is, it needs to be done on a more frequent basis than I think DPW has the ability to do that. So we do have, people, community volunteers who come in and do that for us. But again, I don't think that's like a long-range viable plan. I don't know if we're always gonna have those people available to us who are willing to give their time and their equipment to do it with.
We discussed at the subcommittee maybe 4 times a year since, the growing season starts off kind of slow in the spring, and then in the fall, it's not as much of an issue as it gets cooler, but maybe 4 times in the warm season would help keep it managed enough that people could walk on it and sort of, if it's used frequently enough,
Right.
then it
It
wouldn't
doesn't grow as quick.
it wouldn't grow as quickly, yeah. So,
We could just put a schedule and put a request in. I mean, worst that can happen is they're gonna say no.
I just wanna know, it's, like, is it so overgrown, like, let's say the person, who would be doing the cutting, isn't a regular at Sklar, would they know, like, what the trail is? Or
That's-
is it possible they could just cut a completely different trail?
yeah, and it's possible they could just
Okay.
completely cut a different
I'll
trail.
just make sure to
Yeah.
include
In
that
one,
on the
in
map.
one specific area. The other areas are pretty obvious, but, there is an area where there's a lot of ATV trails, and
Mhm.
some of them have been cut at various times, and, I don't think we have decided. I think there were some trees down, and somebody cut a path a totally different way, so we're sort of just like making trails to make the park usable in that area, but eventually we probably should determine like what the main walking path is, and I don't think we know that yet. But, yeah, as long as they cut one of the paths, it makes it usable, right? Even though there's a lot of options.
Any more questions? Okay. Do you have anything else? Okay.
I don't think so.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks, Tom.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, next up in new business is the proposed amendment to the rules of procedure. This is regarding the email we got a few weeks ago regarding the new town purchasing policy. Which all have this packet here. So, the major changes, and if I'm leaving anything out of what I consider the major changes, then feel free to correct me. You'll see them on page 8, they're written in red. I think the major one I was looking at was, actually on page 9, part F, purchases over $1,000. Commission shall follow the town's purchasing policy, which is incorporated into the administrative code in accordance with the town charter, Article 8 through 10. The purchasing policy outlines different criteria for purchases $1,000, $3,500, $3,500 to $10,000 and over $10,000. The policy is actually not included in this packet. I made a mistake. But basically, there is a packet. I'm not sure if it was included in the email to everyone, a PDF of the actual town purchasing policy that we would have to follow.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, okay. Basically, if we are making a purchase over $1,000, most recent example would be the Beaver Solutions repairs and installation of Beaver beaver receiver, beaver receivers?
Beaver deceivers.
Beaver deceivers, okay, that makes more sense. And, some of the problems that purchase might ran into, and I have signed the purchase order, and so I think that went through just fine. I think it did meet the exceptions that we were talking about. But basically, if we're spending over $1,000 on something, I don't have it on me, but, it has to go through a bidding process, or we have to, have at least 3 estimates of a competing, price to make sure that we've like done our due diligence and have looked through and found the best price, best product possible. Beaver Solutions, I believe, was an exception, and I guess the town agreed with us, because some of the exceptions include a sole source, meaning that you are this person is the only person who can provide this good or service. You know, Beaver Solutions, I'm not sure, because they were repairing stuff they've already installed, so I think they
Yeah.
counted. And also repairs and maintenance, as long as it's according to an active contract. We don't need to find other estimates or place bids for that. And professional services, maybe engineering or architecture, I think Beaver Solutions might also fall under that. I don't know exactly what their job titles are, but, you know, I think it would fall something under professional services. But, so, tonight, the town asked us to either make a vote on whether or not to approve the amendment to the rules of procedure, or to table it and ask further questions about it. I was under the impression from most people that we'd be in support of tabling it, so that we could, you know, clarify some more things regarding it and just share our piece.
I'm definitely in favor of tabling this. There are some omissions in here also. First of all, the process for under $1,000 seems rather heavy-handed and takes weeks to put into practice, given that you have to submit paperwork, then go to a Conservation Commission meeting, and then get an approval and sign a contract. It also doesn't seem to specify the difference between Fund 51 and Fund 53 money, which should probably have different procedures.
Yeah. Yeah, often we're asking for our own money.
Right.
We're asking to spend our own money. We're not coming out of tax money or budget money
Yeah.
anywhere. This is
So-
money that's been set aside for the Conservation Commission to manage the property.
Right, and so Fund 51 money
Yeah.
might have
Yep, absolutely.
more severe restrictions, because that is tax money. But Fund 53 money, as you say, is ours, and it has a purpose, and we're fulfilling that purpose.
Might I recommend, I mean, as a commission, you know, I think we've always operated with maximum transparency. In fact, people have been critical that we've been overly frugal at times. We don't spend a lot of money, and we've heard that feedback. I guess when I read this, and I read it a couple times, I don't know what we're trying to solve here. What is the problem we're trying to solve for? Maybe a next step? I wouldn't be moved to make a motion tonight, although I'm not a voting member anyhow, so I wouldn't be making a motion to table regardless. But maybe the next step is put this on agenda and ask maybe Robert Price could come answer some of these questions, rather than table this month after month, meeting after meeting, going back and forth. I hate to, I know they're busy people, but that might be the right, you know, we can just answer some of these questions
Yeah, I
in the
hope-
moment.
I hope that we can, I understand tabling it, I would probably support a tabling motion, but the sooner this is settled, the better, because this affects subcommittees. What I see as the reason for this, and I'm open to being corrected by anyone in ComDev, is so we are all agreeing on the same procedures, so that finance and the Community Development Department and the commission all agree on how the money's gonna be spent. I do agree that the procedures for under 1,000 seem, I don't wanna say burdensome, but perhaps out of proportion to the amount involved. So,
We're gonna spend $1,000 worth of people's time getting to that point.
yes, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be 2 meetings.
But for the
Maybe the-
sake of the subcommittees, we need to at least
Yeah.
agree that next time we're gonna
Even
And-
the 10,000 under, I mean, is the issue that we don't have a department head, or we haven't identified who is acting as that department head? Because this seemed pretty simple. There shouldn't have been a speed bump here. Like Eric said, this was sole source. We reached out to other people last time. There's not a ton of companies. We're not building a bridge. There's not a ton of companies out there that create these water leveling devices. Yeah, it is a professional service. We're providing maintenance to existing things that we paid for, and this isn't the first time we've done maintenance on these, and we've not gone through these hoops before. And I might even add that it, you know, it's not an emergency yet, but, you know, one of these others it's urgent now, because in 45 days, these beavers are gonna start impounding water again, and these water levels are gonna rise, and one of these abuts people who, you know, the reason we put this there was it impacts their leach fields.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need another speed bump. I just need to understand what problem we're solving for.
And perhaps a clarification that ComDev money, Fund 51, is subject to different rules from Fund 53 money.
I'd be willing to make a motion, probably using the simple language that Community Development has recommended, but I would suggest that on our behalf, Eric, if you'd like to invite someone representing Community Development to help address questions and concerns at our next meeting. The date probably doesn't have to go into the motion, but I would think the follow-up would be, we'd really like to communicate with Community Development to understand the changes.
Yeah, I'll email Robert Price and see if he or any representative come. I'll just give him a date of the next few meetings.
Okay.
See what fits best into his schedule.
I don't know if you want to include finance as well, because it seems like it's heavy on the finance department.
Yeah, eventually, they're the ones who cut the checks.
It does have that nuance of lawyer speak to it.
So I'm willing to make a motion if you think it's in order.
I second.
Okay, I make a motion to table adoption of the amendments to the rules of procedure.
I second.
And then we just vote and we can
Okay.
put it aside.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to table the motion? All opposed? Okay, passes 7-0. Okay, last up in new business is submitted by Karis, Website Management. Karis, are you available to talk to us right now?
Yes, she's asleep. Finally. Yeah, so we either need to get our website up to scruff or we need to shut it down. It's not up to date, it's not doing anything for us, nobody's updating anything on the website. It's not secure, and it doesn't have a privacy policy.
What happened when we had Nick come and talk to us about managing the website? Where did we not finish or follow through on something?
He said he'd be willing to assist us with what we decided to do, and that may have been the point at which the discussion stopped.
Okay. So we need to provide him some support, and then he can help us.
And I believe that action item was on me from some time ago, so I'm happy to
okay.
pick that up again.
Slacker.
If you can get, if you can get me in touch with Nick.
Yes, we can, he's got a town email address, so we can get that to you.
I believe we talked to Stephanie. I don't think Nick was gonna help us with the website.
Nick might have been just specifically about the Facebook page and like making sure it was aligned with,
Yeah, because
policies.
we'd have to look back at the minutes, but at some point, we contacted Stephanie about who has control of the website.
And she pointed me to a company that is in Londonderry, I
Weatherby.
think.
And she
Whether
wasn't,
it be creative.
and she wasn't sure if we were even still paying them to manage the website.
Which could be an issue.
Yeah.
So we don't even actually know who has the credentials to change things on the website at this point.
Well, we can certainly call Wendy and ask her. It's easy enough.
So who's doing that?
I'll call her.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Gage.
I agree with you, though, if the website isn't up to date, it's better not to have it.
Yes.
Especially because we just, later on in our documents, it talks about website hosting, $150 a year, and if we're not doing anything with the website.
Well, that might be a larger discussion to have, in that if we have a Facebook page, I still think there's a purpose to the website.
Yes, as long as
For more
we,
static information, links to
Yes.
all the maps, links to,
Yeah.
unchanging things. But you're right, some of those links point to not correct
Nothing right now.
items, yes.
yeah, I agree that as long as we are actually updating it, it has very significant value.
Okay.
So the next step is Gage, for you to call.
Yeah,
Whoever was okay.
I'll just find out where we stand. I mean, if she, I'm assuming they still have access to it and can
And
create an
Who
account.
is Wendy?
Weatherby Creative. They're the ones
Okay.
that, they're the ones that made the
Oh, all
website
right.
for us. Are we trying to get a new list of credentials? I mean, I wonder if mine still work.
Did you have credentials to be able to change things on the website?
I did, at one time.
I think that's what we would like. Correct me if we're wrong, it would be really helpful if Andrew had credentials, because he has experience doing websites.
I remember what the password is.
This goes back to turnover, because former member
Yes.
Cindy Glenn, I know,
Yep.
was on it and did good work, and it's just one of the things that gets dropped when we have a change in membership, so,
It's-
yeah.
We need to,
Certain-
like, anytime someone leaves, they need to, like, at the last meeting they're at, provide everything they do regularly, so that the commission can then reassign all those things.
Mhm.
Because, right, this has come up before, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Things get dropped.
I'm sure there's enough people we can call. Someone's remembers how to get in.
Someone will be able to.
And if not, I would assume Weatherby Creative can reset things.
I would imagine so, yeah. I don't even know, I mean, if we aren't paying them, then who's hosting it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there's actually two parts to the payment.
Yeah.
There's the physical network hosting, and then there's the creative design and putting content up. And those can be separate things.
Yep. I'll call around tomorrow and see if we can figure out who's doing what.
Okay, so if there's nothing more on website management, we can move on to discussion, SAS possible action. I'm not sure what the shorthand should be for number 4 is, but review updated roster of commission and subcommittee members with term expiration dates. Submitted by Ellen.
If you, on the email that we got for tonight's meeting, as well as in the packet, I had asked Stephanie if she would please give us the information of current membership of both the commission and the subcommittees. She did present that in the packet. If you see anything that is in error or missing from your particular subcommittee you're on, please let community development know, and make it comdev@merrimacknh.gov so that it goes to Kendall as well as Stephanie, because sometimes Kendall handles these. But on my behalf, I'd like to thank ComDev, because we've needed this for a while. There's been turnover. So any errors you find, please bring to their attention, including your own email. Make sure that's correct, please, because we all try to get a hold of each other sometimes, and sometimes I get a bounce back because I don't have the right address.
Karis, are you sure you want your personal email on this?
No.
Okay.
Ellen, I had just one question, maybe you remember. I noticed next to Catherine, the student rep, it's limited to 1-year term. She's a sophomore, I believe, right? And was that in the language, the article to the town charter that was changed? I don't think, it is a 1-year term, but she's not limited to that, right? If she wanted to,
Oh, if she wants
Stay
to
with
apply,
us.
there's nothing that would,
I
that would
think,
prevent her
yeah, I
from
think it's a
doing
it.
one, it's a 1-year term, so it has to be re-upped every year, so I don't,
okay.
I think maybe limited is,
Limited's not, maybe
just,
not the
just,
word we
just,
want.
it's a 1-year term, maybe it's just cross out limited, maybe.
Yeah, the term is limited, the member is not. If she can,
Okay.
she can,
Okay. Well, there you go.
she's free to apply again and go through the process.
Do you want me to email corrections or just tell you the corrections?
Email them to Comdev, please.
Oh, to Conduct, got it.
So this is going back some time, but we did have this before, and there was another hidden column with phone numbers. So, but it's just important to realize that if that gets out, that's not a hidden information anymore. So, if you guys want to do that,
I didn't see that on this one.
so this is much better than one we used to.
Yeah, I think the last one went back to, last one went back to September 2022,
Yeah.
and there's been some changes.
What is Comdev's email?
Comdev's, COMMDEV, I think it's 2 M's, @merrimacknh.gov. And sometimes I do a backup, I do sbrin@merrimacknh.gov, just in case I put in an extra M in Comdev.
No, it is 2 M's.
Thank you.
And what is this document called?
Roster, MCC and Subcom roster.
For the purpose of the minutes, can we, like, edit this in the minutes so that they don't show the personal emails?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would think we can make that as part of the minutes. The trouble is that you can't say personal emails. It's gonna be, because all the subcommittee
No.
have personal emails. So it's gonna be members of the commission itself that have only their town emails there.
Yeah, that's what I meant,
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm okay with, like, all of our town emails being,
Yeah.
because that's what it's for, but I'm talking about, like,
Yeah, Kara should have her personal email removed from the town.
yeah.
And that was it, I just wanted to acknowledge receiving it and make sure everybody looked for errors and submit any to community development.
Yep, and I recommend everyone keep this in whatever packet or notebook they keep with them for
Yep.
commission. Next up, ongoing discussion regarding potential education programs. Karis, did you have anything for us this meeting, or anyone else for that matter?
No.
That's okay.
So I actually have something to add for that. I had reached out to Tim Tenhave at the NRPC and said what we were trying to do, and he put me in touch with one of their members who just returned the other day from vacation, who provided me a bunch of documents and I guess is willing to do some other things. Have not had a chance to look at the documents yet, though.
Okay. This is an ongoing discussion, so it's gonna be on the agenda for the next several meetings, as long as we wanted to, so we can discuss it at the next meeting.
I would like to note on this that the memorandum from Robert Price, they strongly recommend that we have any presentations given to the commission at a regular meeting, so it can be recorded and broadcast on Merrimack TV and shared in the future via YouTube. But doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose that we wanted to do this in a more public setting?
Yep.
Well, I'm glad he brought this up because I hadn't thought of it. We do want it to get out there, and one could argue that this meeting is a public setting, but I understand that's different from having a community, say, meet at the library.
Where things can be passed out, where people can be very interactive and not have to speak up with their name and address each person for the minutes. So,
Can you repeat what you said before Ellen spoke? what were we talking about?
The memo from Robert Price, ComDev Director, who strongly recommends that we have such a presentation at a normal commission meeting, which I
Yeah,
would think
agree.
defeats the entire purpose
He's talking
of it.
about educational,
Yes.
yeah, no, especially because 6:30 on a Monday, it's not necessarily when people can come to an educational event.
Yeah, I think what Robert is thinking is more like a PowerPoint type presentation,
Yes.
so that people could watch it on TV, which I understand. I guess it depends on the context of what is actually being taught. Because some things might
Right.
only be, you only need the video or you only need the PowerPoint presentations. But I think the stuff we were discussing is more stuff, in-person stuff, like where like people can ask questions directly.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Exactly.
Maybe hands-on
And
type
we'll
stuff.
probably have materials to hand out, pamphlets on various
Yeah.
topics.
Yes.
And think about this, is we have a relatively short agenda tonight, we've already been here an hour.
Yeah,
You're-
yeah.
we're gonna be here, Monday night till 9:30, 10 o'clock.
And then people have to like scroll through the video to find the
Yeah.
presentation along with all the
Mhm.
other stuff they don't
Right.
care about.
So do we need to tell him we're going to ignore that paragraph, or do we just ignore it?
I mean, if we
He
have,
can
if we
watch
have,
the
if we
video.
have small, short demonstrations, that's great, but, I mean, if we're having someone to come in and give an hour, 2-hour talk and demonstrations, and it's not gonna be during a regularly scheduled
Right,
meeting.
because the point was not to give a presentation to
Right.
us.
Right.
It's to give a
Right.
presentation to the people of Merrimack.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we've done that before in this room on weekends.
Okay. Does Merrimack have, Merrimack TV have a mobile camera where they could come out if we held this, say, at the library or a park, or?
Want me to go knock on the glass and ask?
I can say that I borrowed a camera to follow someone in town around who was making a presentation, and yes, they do, but you need to go through, I think I had 5 minutes of training.
Yeah.
But yes, they do have resources, and don't be afraid to ask them
I
about it.
mean, we all have iPhones.
Merrimack TV's been very accommodating in the past, as long as we give
Okay.
them plenty of notice in what we're trying to do, so
Okay.
I wouldn't be concerned about trying to set something up remotely or even in here on a weekend or something like that.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add regarding education opportunities? Okay, in that case, we can move on to approval of the minutes. And once again, I've forgotten how to make the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Yes. I'll second.
Do we have any amendments?
I've got, I got one. I think just one, hold on. Yeah, so, page 2, line 75. We want the soil tested before it's fertilized, not before the vegetation is planted.
Okay, well, can you give me that again?
Page 2, line 75. The soil could be tested before fertilization.
Before fertilization.
And not, we're not concerned about the vegetation's planted, we're
Okay.
concerned about adding fertilizer that doesn't need to be added.
Okay, got it.
And that was my big change.
I have one as well. I don't know, it's on the first page, it's line 14. I have not yet been notified officially, but I don't think I'm an alternate member anymore, so I'm gonna cross that off.
Yeah, that is correct. You are a full member, actually. I think you are a full member on the sheet we got today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
you're-
had me on that, but not on here,
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe I'm the one that put it on there, I don't know when I did the minutes.
Maybe.
This is why we correct.
Yep.
Any other edits? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended? All opposed, all, 7-0, nothing. It passes. Okay, and
Are we not doing any commissioner comments anymore?
they're not listed on here, but we are doing commissioner comments, but, you know, we don't go around in a circle, it's just, if you have comments, feel free to speak up. So if anyone does have any comments,
The Bambi, Bambi Trail Bridge has been repaired, and the roof on the outdoor classroom has been repaired. And if the roof on the outdoor classroom is broken any further, I think the only thing we can do is build a real roof. Because they've damaged it pretty badly.
Was this done by the subcommittee?
Yes. It was quite hot.
I didn't know you did that.
Was that just vandalism or?
Yes.
Okay.
any other commissioner comments? Okay, then, I motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? All opposed? All abstain? Motion passes, 7-0.